What's up, pimps? Well, tell you what's down. Disney's cash flow after Tron Ares bombed at the box office.
I don't have any change!
Not exactly a hot take at this point to say that cinema's been declining over the last 10 to 20 years. Movies used to feel like visual spectacles. Nowadays, well, they just suck! With terrible writing, overused tropes, and nothing that feels original anymore.
Yo, what the fuck?
The first time I remember realizing cinema was going to crap was way back in 2017. As a kid, I was a massive Star Wars fan growing up. I owned action figures, read terrible books. I even dressed up as my favorite characters and ran around the house all day. Now I eventually grew out of that, thank God. Simply put, I really liked Star Wars growing up. So you can imagine how feral my 14-year-old brain went when I finally was able to go watch one of the Star Wars movies in theaters. The last Star Wars movie I had seen at the time was The Force Awakens, which, while flawed, set up some very interesting plot points for The Last Jedi. And with Luke Skywalker back, I was certain this movie was going to be peak. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. I mean, I didn't hate it at first. Not initially, anyway. But the more I thought about The Last Jedi, the more my pubescent brain began to realize it was crap!
Great team! What am I watching?
Wait, he wasn't actually there? Why did he die?
Force projection is a fatal one-time use, I guess.
That doesn't even make any sense, but did she hyperdrive through all of them? Did they just kill Snoke? Yeah. The more I thought about The Last Jedi, the more I just began to realize how terribly it was written. I mean, sure, it had a couple of flashy fight scenes, and it was cool having Luke Skywalker back, and a Kylo Ren meme was kind of funny. But yeah, the more I thought about The Last Jedi, the more I began to realize how much potential it had, and how it was all wasted. I mean, even the cast themselves didn't really seem to be that big of a fan of how The Last Jedi turned out.
Congrats on The Last Jedi.
Thank
Really
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank
you happy
you.
with it?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Or how about Luke Skywalker? You know, the same guy who turned his evil father to the light side, also tried to strike down his nephew because of a bad dream? Thus began the realization that cinema was entering a new era. A dying era. And that realization only became more clear to me as I watched Disney take the Star Wars franchise, a franchise I loved and adored as a kid, and bury it into the ground. I mean, like, to be fair, not everything that's come out of Disney Star Wars has been bad. In fact, they've made some really cool additions to the franchise. Han Solo movie, it was good. Rogue One, even better. Star Wars Rebels was also a very great series. Final season of Clone Wars, well, it was about time. But perhaps that's part of the problem with modern Hollywood. The lack of frickin' creativity. Because once Disney realized that people would watch anything with the word Star Wars on it, they just began pumping out Star Wars content left and right. After Clone Wars, we got the Star Wars Bad Batch, and Tales of the Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker. We don't talk about The Rise of Skywalker. Then there was the Mandalorian series, which has gone on for like, what, 3-4 seasons at this point? And a new one's coming out. But the more Star Wars content Disney made, the more they just continued to beat the series into the ground.
It's over, Anakin! I'm gonna stick it up your butt now!
I need you to take the controls. Canon tax.
All remaining systems will back!
All jokes aside, there is way too much Star Wars content these days. Not saying they're all bad, but not every character needs their own miniseries, Disney. Like what, you decided Cad Bane needs his own miniseries after killing him off? And the writing to some of these shows just feels terrible some days. I mean, Boba Fett went from cool, mysterious bounty hunter to whatever this is. Or Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which had its own problems.
Hello, Princess.
Why are you here?
Just waiting
Or what?
for you.
But by far, the worst offender of Disney's Star Wars series and burning the franchise to the ground has got to be Star Wars The Acolyte. Set 100 years before The Phantom Menace, The Acolyte actually had the makings to be kind of a cool concept. Great fight choreography, and a fairly new premise that hadn't really been explored yet. It could have shown new parts of the Star Wars universe during a time when the galaxy wasn't at war, you know? A time before where Sith unveiled themselves. Nope! Meet Leslie Headland, aka Miss...
I have daddy issues.
And she implemented those real-life daddy issues, as well as incorporating some of her high school fan fiction her friends and her wrote over Zoom, with the main character being her, quote, self-insert. Man, this show was destined to fail from the start.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal.
Sneaking suspicion that some of that fan fiction may have inspired The Acolyte, or at least snuck its way into those pages.
There are a couple of characters from those campaigns that may or may not be in the show.
The gayest.
Star Wars.
I consider that.
The series had a lot of problems. Nearly everyone in the show feels emotionless and dull at times, with the exception of maybe Soul. And that goes double for May and Osha, who feel completely indistinguishable from each other, and have about as much emotional range as a board. Not to mention how the show's writing genuinely makes zero sense at times. How did Quimir take on 8 Jedi but lose to a bunch of butterflies? Why did Soul not pick up the 2 girls from off the platforms? Which, you know, would have been significantly lighter. Why did all the witches die when the spell over the Wookiee broke? Who knows? Why did Osha's mother turn into a smoke demon? It remains a mystery. Or the most important question, why are there fires in space? Plus, the show cannot seem to make up its mind on what it's trying to be. Is it an action-adventure story? Could it be romance? Comedy? A crime thriller? Honestly, I don't even think Leslie knows. But what do I know? Unlike Leslie, I'm not a real Star Wars fan. I didn't even know Anakin was apparently the one who actually blew up the Death Star.
Anakin blowing up the Death Star.
But I do know this. Modern Hollywood sucks. Let's talk about why. This isn't a Star Wars problem. It's a problem with the majority of movies that come out nowadays. They suck! Welcome to the modern movie formula, where we have 3 categories. Number 1, the lousy sequels. Well, here's the thing. Being a sequel doesn't inherently make a movie bad. In some cases, it actually makes them better than the original. The Empire Strikes Back, Terminator 2, The Dark Knight, Shrek 2, the John Wick quadrilogy. I mean, you get the picture. Sequels, when done right, are amazing. You know, when they build upon the story of the original. Somewhere along the line, Hollywood started mistaking quick cash grabs and continuing a story. Because nowadays it just feels like every sequel that comes out usually is just a quick cash grab. You know, sucking every last drop out of their cash cow.
Sucking their mother's dry.
Because more often than not, Hollywood doesn't care about what you think about Han Solo. They just want to make money. And when sequels go from artistic storytelling to quick cash grabs, you end up with one of 2 kinds of movies. And neither of them are very good. We have the classic copy-paste situation. Take what worked in the last movie and do it again. It's safe, doesn't take any chances, and guaranteed to make money.
It's genius.
Oh boy. Jurassic Park 6. Dinosaurs never get old. Oh boy. Transformers bringing back explosions, cars, physics. But what about when sequels aren't just soulless cash grabs? What about when Disney and other movie companies actively ruin or cut down characters in their sequels? It's modern Hollywood's favorite pastime. Take your beloved characters that you loved as a child and turn them into miserable washed up husks of themselves. They're not heroes anymore. Oh no, they're sad, bitter, grumpy, depressed, or written as genuinely incompetent so that the new generation can shine. And honestly, I absolutely hate this successor trope in Hollywood. Like so many movies follow this. Tron Ares, Flynn failed his dad's legacy. Terminator Dark Fate, the main kid from the first 3 movies just flat out dies in the first 5 minutes. Indiana Jones had a great trilogy, and then what? They make a 4th one, where his marriage fails, his kid died, and now he's an old washed up boomer with a goddaughter, I guess. Several other movies that also follow this successor trope are movies like Kung Fu Panda 4, Cars 3, The Last Jedi, literally every Marvel superhero from Phase 1 by this point. It doesn't really help that there's just an overall lack of creative new movies nowadays, as most movies coming out are usually just endless continuations of previously existing series or soulless remakes that nobody asked for. One thing about modern Hollywood that I really don't like, aside from bad CGI, bad storytelling, bad writing, it's the death of masculine characters. And not just masculine characters, but masculine ideals. There are occasional movies that still attempt to cater to masculine audiences, like The Iron Claw, Top Gun Maverick, the Mission Impossible series, but those tend to be exceptions nowadays, not the rule. Male characters are often not portrayed the same way they were in the 60s and 70s. Characters like The Godfather, James Bond, they more often than not felt like something to aspire to. But modern Hollywood tends to write men to be, quote, relatable, rather than inspiring. And when you do have a male lead with even a shred of confidence, their female love interests tend to put them in their place when necessary. A little healthy emasculation. Because after all, we don't want that confidence to become toxic. They might evolve into a misogynist. Am I saying that the death of masculine men in writing is what's killing Hollywood? No. But what I am saying is that it's one of the problems that I've noticed with modern Hollywood. I mean, let's face it, movies are expensive to make. And more often than not, Hollywood doesn't like taking risks. Making movies is an investment. And relying upon IPs and franchises that are already familiar to people is going to have a far greater chance at making money than something people don't recognize. What was the point of this? Was this video just a rant? Maybe, maybe not. What I'm saying is, cinema is on the decline, and there's a lot of issues that exist within it. And the thing is, it's obviously not just me. There's obviously other people who are fed up with Hollywood as well. People are tired of seeing recycled garbage. We're tired of seeing reused plots, reused characters, and watching Hollywood take our favorite movies and characters and destroy them for the next generation. It's something that I feel like so many franchises are suffering from now, and what I've spoken about is just what I can think of on hand. But what's the clear-cut solution? Well, the only real solution out there is to stop watching their movies. Which apparently is borderline impossible for some people. That's just it though. It sucks.